this reality, it is sometimes a lack of imagination that causes the problems in our lives. We just simply can't imagine a solution. And the divine idea comes to us and we say, yes, there is a solution, but it's not fully formed. And the imagination goes to work and fleshes out that system, that divine idea. Imagination is our conceiving, picturing faculty. It is the mind's formative power that shapes thoughts into mental images with color, variety, and dimension. The highest use of imagination is to shape thoughts into images that most fully reflect the original divine idea's nature. So, I like to bring this to some very, very tangible areas. And one of the things that I like best about imagination is that, by the way, I think one of the definitive works on the use of imagination is Shakti Gawain of creative visualization. If you wish to manifest, to demonstrate a particular good in your life, it is incredibly helpful to first get the idea in your mind of exactly what it is that you want. What is the shape? What is the color? What does it look like? Where is it? You don't just go onto the Amazon website and say, "Send me something you think I'd like." And going back to the old Sears and Roebuck days, you don't open up the catalog and say, "Send me something you think I'd like." You want to know the color. You want to know the size. You want to know the specifics of what it is that you are ordering. And then divine mind goes to work and brings into manifestation that which we have perceived, that which we have imagined. Let's see here. Understanding, Thomas. Understanding, and there's a reason that it is gold, because it is important, it is valuable. Understanding comes right here in the frontal cortex, the front of the brain. It is demonstrated, or it is associated with the disciple Thomas. And spiritual understanding is the ability of the mind to apprehend, to realize the laws of thought and the relation of ideas to one another. Bringing it all together, saying, "Oh yes, this connects to that," and seeing the relationship, seeing the connection between this and that. We see this. We've talked about the law of cause and effect. Thomas comes into play when we truly understand, or when we bring into our awareness the connection between cause and effect. This has been the way I have been perceiving reality, and it has produced these effects in my life. And if I change my perception, I will produce different effects. And understanding that is so valuable. Understanding our connection, our relationship between the causes in our consciousness and the effects that we see in our life, in our world, and in our affairs. So we find that there is within us a knowing capacity transcending intellectual knowledge, a knowing capacity that transcends intellectual knowledge. It is not just about how smart you are. As a matter of fact, it's incredible to me. It is absolutely incredible to me how many genuinely smart people, really, really smart people, do not grasp how important the perceiving portion of this relationship, the causative effects of consciousness. They do not make the connection that what they are looking at depends significantly on what they are looking with, their own consciousness. Understanding is the faculty by which we receive enlightenment and insight, that great aha, that, oh yes, now I understand something I did not understand before. The Sartori, the sudden awakening, sudden enlightenment. Yes, now I see, now I get it. It is our capacity to gain direct perceptions of truth. It is our faculty for spiritual intelligence. Spiritual intelligence. Let's see here. And will. Matthew. Matthew is, the will is the executive power of the brain. It is the decision-making ability. I choose this over that. The will is the executive faculty of the mind, the determining factor within us. The will moves to action the other faculties of the mind. So what we choose to, say, use our power for, what we choose to use our faith for, what we choose to love, what we choose to bring into manifestation in our lives. It is a choice that we get to choose in all times, in all situations, at any time. It is the decision-making, directing, choosing faculty of the mind. It is our capacity to say yes to what we want or no to what we don't want, to opportunity, to options. And the highest expression of the will is willingness. Willingness. The ability to say, you know what, I don't know, and I am willing to discover. I am willing to open myself up to something other than my own choosing, to turn our will and our life over to the care of a higher power, to turn our will and our life over to the care and the decision-making of Christ's presence within us, conscious contact to the will of God within us. Now, I am of the opinion, this came from Judge Thomas Trord about 250 years back, a great metaphysician, was of the understanding, which I agree with, that God, the overhead, the oversoul, does not have personal will. God does not want anything for you, and so what we turn our life and our will over to is our own higher power, our own Christ self within us, that within us which knows better than the ego does, knows better than we do, knows better than we know ourselves what it is that will genuinely make us happy, healthy, that will bring us a fuller, freer, more expansive life. Turn our life and our will over to that so that we are not directed by the ego, we are not directed by the personal will, we are directed to that within us that knows better than we are. Do we want? It's the old it's the old car. Do we take the engine out of the car and put it in the driver's seat? Do we want the engine driving the car? That is letting the ego be in charge. We don't want that. We want who and what is in the driver's seat. Who and what is in the driver's seat, and who we want in the driver's seat, who I want in my driver's seat, is the highest and best that I know, the Christ presence within me. James, order, the son of Alphaeus. Order in the mind of God is an idea of harmonious progress, evolution. Order in within us is our ability to perceive and cooperate with the law of growth. I believe I'm repeating some of last week, and that's okay. It's a good review. Order, for me, order brings into awareness the most important thing about order is sequence, because I find this frequently. Things do not happen unless they happen in sequence. Step one, if you do not accomplish step one completely and successfully, step two is meaningless. You can't begin putting together the thing you got from IKEA until you first get it out of the box. Step one, get it out of the box. So it's all very wonderful to completely understand how this thing is going to come together, but unless you first get it out of the box, it's not going to come together. Order in the mind is the idea of harmonious progress, of evolution. First this thing, then the order. Order within us is our ability to perceive and cooperate in the law of growth. The divine idea of order is the idea of adjustment. We make subtle changes and see it's again a relationship between cause and effect. It is the idea of adjustment. You make a subtle change, you see the effect. And it is this establishment within our thought, that within our mind, within our affairs, that will be at one with universal harmony. Well, again, this cooperates with will. When we turn our life and our will over to God's presence within us, to the Christ consciousness within us, you can watch the universe unfold rather than forcing it to happen, because things have order. One of my prayer partners and I, we talk about this, that the two most important prayers that we can possibly pray: divine guidance, divine order. Okay, God's presence within me, tell me, allow me to gain an insight into what it is that I want and need. What is it that allows me to see and perceive correctly? Divine guidance. And help me to let it happen, so that we are not making things happen, we are allowing things to happen. We are letting them happen in divine order. To develop divine order in our lives, we must learn to cooperate with spiritual law. Order is the faculty by which we establish harmony, balance, right adjustment, the right sequence of actions. Order is the one underlying law of manifestation that we must participate consciously. We must consciously participate with that process, and this enables growth without struggle. I personally don't know any great metaphysician who has so completely tuned into this that they don't go through some struggle. We struggle with ourselves. We struggle with our own perceptions of reality. We don't struggle with the outside world. We struggle with our relationship to it, so that we are taking responsibility for our own perceptions. Zeal, Simon the Zealot. This is one of the disciples that you actually have a connection with the moniker, the name that is in direct connection with these 12 powers. It's easy to connect John to love because John, if you look at the various books attributed to John in the New Testament, he frequently talks about love. He frequently talks, it's easy to connect John to love. It's easy to connect Peter to faith because Peter demonstrates faith. He also demonstrates lack of faith from time to time. Zeal, Simon the Zealot is it's there right in the name. We all know what zeal is. Zeal is our ability to get excited about something. And it can work for us and it can work against us. Zeal is the great universal force that impels us to spring forward in the field of endeavor and accomplish the seemingly miraculous. It is enthusiasm. I like to say, take for instance the moonshot, the Apollo program of the 1960s and early 70s. That thing got off the ground by and large because of enthusiasm more than anything else. If it didn't have the will, if it didn't have the enthusiasm, it would not have happened. Zeal is the great universal force. It compels us. It drives us to accomplish, to go further, to do more. To be without zeal is to be without the zest for living. Zeal and enthusiasm, the word enthusiasm, entheos, it actually means filled with God, entheos. To be filled with Spirit, to be filled with God. Zeal and enthusiasm incite to glorious achievement every aim and ideal that the mind conceives. Zeal is the impulse to go forward, the urge behind all things. Zeal is the faculty of enthusiasm, intensity, and exuberance. It provides our inner urge to progress. And I'm going to check in right here. I see that Janet has tuned in. We've got 3 people. Hello, everybody. Hello. So, zeal drives us forward. Let's see. The highest expression of zeal is an unflagging, fervent interest in knowing, speaking, and doing good. And of course, all of these powers have the darker side, the ego-driven side. What happens when we let our zeal run rampant under the control of ego? Well, we get people who are very, very excited and go off into the wrong direction. They find themselves pursuing in great earnest something that is not good to them or good for them. They get excited about it. Let's see. Elimination. We get this idea sometimes in New Thought that we acquire all of this knowledge. We bring to ourselves all of this knowledge, all of this faith, all of this zeal, we acquire. But if your cup is already full, you cannot put more into it. If your cup is already full of what you have already perceive, what you already think you know, then you cannot learn more. The most dangerous idea in the world is the idea that you already know that. I already know this, and that idea prevents us from learning more. Letting go of old thoughts in order that new thoughts may find a place in consciousness. That is letting go. A healthy state of mind is attained when the thinker willingly lets go of the old thoughts and takes on the new. This is illustrated by the inlet and outlet of a pool of water. The metaphor that is frequently used is the Dead Sea. Why is the Dead Sea dead? And the Dead Sea is dead, supposedly. It's actually very full of life, but why it's called the Dead Sea is that the accumulation of minerals, of salts, is so dense within the Dead Sea, and that is because there is an inlet but no outlet. Water does not flow out of the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea is actually below sea level. Water flows into the Dead Sea, and then because there is no outlet, all that happens is the only way that water is removed from the Dead Sea is due to evaporation. And when that happens, all of the minerals, all of the salts build up. And it is true that you cannot sink in the Dead Sea. If you go to the Dead Sea now and get into it, you cannot sink. You will automatically float in the Dead Sea with no effort at all. And that is like our own consciousness. If we have an inlet and no outlet, if we do not let go of that which no longer serves us, that which no longer is good to us or good for us, we become dead. We become spiritually stagnant. We become spiritually stagnant. Thoughts are things. They occupy space in the mental field. A healthy state of mind, it is attained and continued when the thinker willingly lets go of the old thoughts and takes on new. Being able to say, I don't know. Now, this is, again, part of understanding. It is part of understanding. Being able to say, I'm willing to let go of what I think I know in favor of what is genuine and true, that which serves my needs. And elimination is the faculty by which we release false beliefs, error thinking, and accomplish a mental cleansing. Elimination enables us to surrender to Spirit any thought that is not for our highest good, so that transformation and purification of consciousness can take place. And finally, we get to life. Life. And it's one of the great conundrums. Why does Judas represent life? And the best reasoning that I can see is, why does in many cultures the animal that symbolizes life is actually a snake, frequently a venomous snake. Why? Because the snake sheds its skin. It casts off the old and continues to live. It casts off one form of body and continues to live. This is also found in the moon. The moon every month casts itself off, makes itself new, and continues to live, to cycle through a system. And this is the part of the body is the generative organs. No jokes, please. In the world of phenomenon, life is the energy that propels all forms into action. Life is what keeps us going. Life is the force within us, the most powerful impulse that people have generally, and there are exceptions to this. The most powerful impulse we have is for self-preservation. We must survive. We who survive. This is our nature. This is who we are. We understand a continuation of our existence. Life within us is our increasing consciousness of this world, our inner activities, the forces and the movements around us. It is the power to express the eternal activity of God. Why is an understanding or an appreciation of an afterlife, whether that is in a beautiful paradise, say that quote-unquote good people go after you die. We've talked about this. I believe that life is forever. Life does not begin at physical birth. It does not end for us when we are done with this body. We go on. And in my understanding, my appreciation for spiritual knowing, life is a continuation from one classroom into the next. We may be done with this physical existence on this planet at this time, but when our time here is done, there will be another classroom. There will be another experience, a higher experience. Life is the faculty of movement, vitality, wholeness, and creativity. It is the expression of the pure, eternal life of God within us. Life. This is an expression of who we really are, not who we think we are at any given moment. Life is the propelling forward of that which sustains us. And let's see here. So, what are these 12 powers all about? What is our work? What is our goal in these 12 powers? Our work is to transmute the natural powers, these 12 powers, starting where we are in consciousness and spiritual growth. So you can only start where you are. That's just it's put into parentheses because it really is an aside. You have to start where you are. There's no point in wishing you were more spiritually evolved. You are where you are, and you are as spiritually evolved as you will ever need to be to begin. So we transmute, we transmogrify these natural powers into the spiritual power that we are designed to express for the fulfillment of our own Christ potential. As we bring these 12 powers into alignment, we more and more fully expressed the Christ potential, the God consciousness within us. Each faculty is discovered first as an intellectual concept, and that's, again, it comes to us first as an intellect, and the biblical metaphor for this is John the Baptist. John the Baptist represents an intellectual understanding of the truth. But John the Baptist, the intellectual understanding of the truth, is a forerunner, a precursor to the full Christ awareness. The intellectual capacity announces, predicts the full Christ consciousness. So each faculty is discovered first in the intellectual concept, and this concept is explored and nurtured through prayer, through meditation, as it gradually grows into the spiritual idea from which it came. Finally, we have no sense of separateness. So our goal is when we truly become one with the one with God's presence, when we have full conscious contact with God's presence within us, a realization of our oneness with God power itself, expressing through us entirely under the guidance and direction of the Christ presence within us. Remember, each power functions in three ways. First, the perfect idea in divine mind, the absolute, the perfect idea. Second, the growing concept in our individual consciousness. And third, the expression through the physical center, through these nerve centers within our body, and indirectly throughout the entire body. So there we've talked about this: mind, idea, and expression. Mind, idea, and expression. And this mind, idea, and expression expresses itself through these nerve bundles, these nerve centers within us, and is reflected out into the life that we perceive, our life, our world, and all of our affairs. The long-range goal is to attain a complete and perfect expression of all of these 12 powers through all phases of our being. This would be the fulfilling realization of oneness with our Creator. We believe that Jesus reached and demonstrated this oneness. So again, we see Jesus as our way shower, our elder brother, that the one who got there first. We talked about Roger Bannister running the first 4-minute mile. Before Roger Bannister, people genuinely thought that a 4-minute mile was completely and totally impossible until Roger Bannister did it, and then a whole bunch of people did it, and now high school students are doing it all the time. So it is our transformation, our work, our goal is transformation into full consciousness and enlightened beings as achieved through the development of our 12 spiritual faculty. Our goal is to express our Christ potential unselfishly, lovingly, and with great power. So, let's summarize this. Let's break this all down. We've been here a few weeks. Let's break this all down. The 12 powers are 12 fundamental aspects of our divine nature that comprise the perfect pattern of perfection within us. When we fully flesh out, when we fully come into realization of these 12 powers, we are purified. We are perfected. Our increasing awareness of these 12 faculties will enable us to express them in creative and useful ways. And that's the key phrase: creative and useful. Creative and useful ways. We talked about unity being positive and practical. And practical and useful, these ways assist us in our living, and they assist the world. Spiritually, the powers exist in our minds as divine ideas. We talked about this. Divine ideas are our true inheritance of God. We are all, each and every one of us, sons and daughters of God, joint heirs with Jesus Christ. And as sons and daughters of God, we have a divine inheritance. We have a heritage. And our heritage is divine ideas. Our inheritance are these perfect concepts that come to us. Symbolically, these are the 12 disciples of Jesus, and literally, they are 12 centers of energy within each individual's. So again, these are nerve bundles within our body. 6 in the head, 6 in the torso. The 12 powers are faith, strength, judgment, love, power, imagination, understanding, will, order, zeal, elimination, and life. These are our inheritance. This is who we are. Our work is to develop our 12 spiritual faculties so that we may become the full expression of our Christ nature. We, as Jesus drew the 12 to him, we make these spiritual faculties, we place them under the direction, under the guidance, under the tutelage of the Christ nature within us. So, name each of these 12 powers, describe their function. This is a good start for any committed Unity student. And relate your understanding of the 12 powers to your current concept of regeneration. Now, we didn't really talk too much. I think the very first slide or two or 3 weeks ago, we talked about how this relates to this concept of regeneration. How regeneration, again, is this idea that we are made new. We are reborn. We are continually in a rebuilding of our physical body and of our consciousness under the direction of the Christ. So, this is just a thought. This would be a good topic for journalism, for journaling, for some personal reflection. God, supreme being, is the source out of which all creation evolves. God mind is an omnipresent spiritual realm comprised of creative ideas. Through prayer and spiritual realization, we may lay hold of these ideas and create out of them the ideals of our hearts. And our next chapter is healing. We've got just a few moments. We have just a few moments. So let's begin with this chapter. We won't get very far into it. We're going to have to break off here in just a little bit. But coming out of Myrtle Fillmore's healing, and for those of you who do not know, the whole Unity movement really began with Myrtle Fillmore's experience with healing within her. She had been diagnosed with tuberculosis, which at that time was the dread disease. It was the AIDS of its day. It was the COVID-19 of its day. It was an illness that had a tremendous stigma to it, so that people were isolated in tuberculosis hospitals For many people, it was simply a death sentence. And it was indeed for Myrtle. After struggling with tuberculosis for years and years, she had been told that it was a family weakness, a family inheritance, and she had essentially gotten to the point where doctors had given her 6 months to live. Put your affairs to order, you are going to die. There was absolutely nothing that she could do. Over the years, they had tried many remedies. There was some understanding that certain environments, drier climates and that kind of thing helped, but there was no cure. And just to tell the story, Myrtle and Charles went to a speaker, a man named Dr. E.B. Weeks out of the Chicago Metaphysical Institute, and there she heard an idea, a divine idea. And that idea was that she was a child of God, and as a child of God, she did not inherit illness. She did not inherit sickness or disease of any kind. She came home with that idea, enthusiastic about it, and she literally shut herself away. She spent long periods of time in prayer and meditation, and over the course of a few years, some say 3 years, she completely and totally healed herself so that there was no indication of tuberculosis in her body at all. And that was really the beginning of this unity movement. So health is the manifestation of wholeness and vitality which we experience in mind and body. Our state of health is a reflection of our awareness of the divine idea of life which has been created by God and implanted within our consciousness. The pure life energy of spirit is designed to be expressed through us in limitless ways. In the following chapter, we will explore and discuss the components inherent in the idea of wholeness and process of developing a healing consciousness. And this is from God creates first in thought. Again, this is the John the Baptist within us, the intellectual awareness. God creates first within us in thought, and God's idea of creation is perfect. And that idea exists as a perfect model upon which all manifestation rests. The body of humankind must rest upon the divine body, the idea in divine mind. So in divine mind, there is a perfect body. And I'm not talking superficially perfect. I'm not talking supermodel perfect body. I'm talking everything works, everything is where it should be, everything functions as it should. So there is a divine idea, a perfect body in consciousness, in divine mind. And logically, it follows that inner life substance and intelligence, all flesh is perfect. You are perfect. When we are talking about the manifestation of healing, the manifestation of anything, prosperity, this works in many, many different areas of our life. We are not trying to make something true that is not true. We are trying to see the truth. We are trying to awaken to a truth that already exists. And that is healing. We are not talking about merely curing disease, injury, ailment. We are healing the entire consciousness. And yes, that does express out through the body, but far more than a cure of the body, we are healing our consciousness. We are saying yes to the pure and perfect image of healing that already exists. And with that, dear friends, we will get further into healing next week. Let us turn our thoughts to our offertory blessing. And if you can hold your offering with you, left hand the God hand, right hand the multiplying hand, and affirm this offertory blessing with me now. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am joy-filled and grateful. Thank you, God. And you can send your tithes, your love offerings, your gifts to paypal.me/UnityLincoln. That's paypal.me/UnityLincoln. Or if you're already on PayPal, you can send it to office@unitylincoln.org. If you're sending your gift the old-fashioned way, you can send it to Unity Lincoln, P.O. Box 30209, Lincoln, Nebraska 68503. And you can also go to our website at unitylincoln.org, and there you will find a convenient link to donate via PayPal. You can also support Unity Lincoln by signing up for the Amazon Smile program so that every purchase that you make on Amazon.com supports Unity Lincoln. And please remember to like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, leave comments in the comment section. I so appreciate your comments in the comments section. Like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, give us those big thumbs up. We look forward to seeing you next week for Metaphysics here every Sunday morning. Please join us for our worship service in just a few minutes at 10:30 this morning. And join us on Wednesday nights for Unity Cafe with Rev Tony and myself. And dear friends, we are so grateful that you have joined us here today. God bless you. Namaste.